That's the word. This is just
Speaking of
so
sanitation,
cleaning up, right? The Hawks in the fourth quarter, and just trash performance by the Celtics and the offensive end, and allowing those breakouts on the Atlanta side and turning the ball over on 4 out of 5 possessions there, and having no offensive rhythm or structure whatsoever there in the fourth. Tatum, Brown, turnover messes. The dropped rebound, I thought, emblematic of what was basically another spiraling set of minutes in a key situation in a game, and it was optimistic to start this month to see them come through in some of those moments, Sherrod. But this time it was just like the old Celtics pre-January. The -9 team in the fourth quarter net rating. They couldn't score and they couldn't get any stops.
No, they're. I mean, listen, they're going to be like this for the rest of the season. They're going to have stretches where they look amazingly awesome, and then other stretches like we saw in the fourth
grim.
quarter where they're just horrific in every sense of the word. Not making shots, turning the ball over, no flow, no fluidity at all. And it really doesn't matter what Ime does in terms of the roster. Guys on the floor are not going to get it done. We've seen that. We've seen this movie over and over again. The only solace that the Celtics can take really from this game is the fact that it's over. The fact that the game actually came to an end. They're really. I just didn't feel
Damn.
any. I didn't feel any. There's no. To me, there was nothing good about this. Tatum goes 5 for 17. Jalen 9 for 22. Marcus Smart had a pretty good game, 17 and 6 rebounds.
He had a big third quarter.
Yeah, he had a big third quarter, and I mean he did his job tonight for the most part. He didn't turn the ball. I think he had one turnover. I think all game long. So Smart, probably the one silver lining if you're the Boston Celtics, but the rest of the team was just bad. I mean,
Brown and
everyone
Tatum
was bad.
especially. Your two guys that you look into in these moments, Jimmy.
Absolutely, it's a very obvious pattern. We've been talking about it the last couple of weeks when Tatum plays. Unfortunately, the way he's kind of been playing a lot this season, which is missing a ton of shots and putting the team in a hole early on, they lose the game. It's not rocket science. I mean, you can go through all the stats you want, but at the end of the day, if your best player is not playing, up to par, up to standards, you don't have enough talent around him to make up for that. So especially when I thought Brown, kind of if you look at the box score, he filled the stat sheet in ways, but we're not consistently. We talked about the turnovers already. What did they end up with? Like 12 at least, something like that around
No,
there.
they had close to 20. 16 was the
No,
final number.
I'm sorry. I'm just talking about just
Oh,
Brown and Tatum alone.
oh yes.
Yeah, they had a big chunk of the turnovers
Se-
were from them.
it was 7 for Brown, I believe, 5 for Tatum.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, when the guys that you're depending on to convert on the offensive end are turning the ball over, giving you less than zero, what are you supposed to do about that? There's just not enough around them. So yeah, Marcus Smart did all he could tonight, but he's only one guy, and he is limited in what he's capable of doing on the offensive end. And it was just a matter of time before Trae Young hit some of those Trae Young type shots that he did late in the game to sort of put it to bed. And the Celtics had a prime opportunity here. You're playing against one of the worst, maybe the worst defense in the NBA. You come out of the gates, 20 points in the first quarter, 15 points in the fourth quarter. Ime had enough with like 3 minutes left in the game. He was like, "Get these guys out of here. They're not ready to, they're not even in the game anymore."
And I just
Um,
see this number now, 19% from 3. I mean,
yeah,
this team
they have raised
redefines
their average for the year.
this
That's how
team
bad it's
re- this team redefines horrific shooting. And it's one thing to hear the people on TV and on Twitter say, "Oh, if we make the shots, we'll be fine." To hear the coaching staff say it, Sherrod, when Scal's talking to them in between quarters and the different appearances that we hear from them, and even Ime this year, his overall approach to that shooting, it's concerning. And so there's a couple different directions we can go here. I want to start with that shooting because I keep sensing again and again that they're leaning into this. And Tatum did it too. He had a key switch on Gallinari in the fourth there where he just launched a shot up over him. A couple passive possessions there from both Brown and Tatum where they're firing up shots in isolation when they could be getting downhill and aggressive like they were in the third. Scal said this during the broadcast, and I find it interesting, Shrug. What do you do when you have those awful starts? And they started 2 for 17 from 3 in this one. Do you give it up? Do you keep rolling? It feels like their answer to that when we've asked them this year has been just keep shooting, remain confident, keep these guys feeling good from out there. But there have been numerous games this year where they just keep shooting into no end.
Well, see, here's the issue. It's not so much that they keep shooting; it's they keep shooting the same types of shots. Typically, when your jumper's not working and the three ball is not going down for you. You have to go back to what I call basketball 101. And we all know when you first start playing basketball, one of the first things that you do is you try to create mismatches and then you try to exploit those mismatches. There were a couple of instances where just the nature of switching, you had Rob Williams being guarded by Trey Young. Now,
Mm,
I'm not John Wooden. I'm not Mike Krzyzewski, but I'm smart enough to know that if I got a
You're
six
better than
nine
them.
guy with a 7'4" wingspan being guarded by a guy who's, maybe 6 feet, who's not exactly a defensive juggernaut, I'm going to milk that. I'm going to work the ball around so I get that matchup, and I'm going to try to exploit it. There are a number of instances where they had opportunities to really work an advantage because to me that's when you look to that. When you're trying to get something going offensively, when you're trying to establish a flow or rhythm when you don't have that. And the Celtics, I just thought, time and time again, leaned on, to me, the easy route, which is to just jack up shots. You're told as a player that's how you get out of a slump. You just keep shooting. But
Mhm.
it's not the shots taken; it's the types of shots that you take. And I just didn't think they were smart about how they played this.
that's what I'm seeing in the fourths, Jimmy. Just the easy way out. They're not working the ball around. They're not doing the things that they had success with earlier in the game, entering the offensive zone quickly, piling up stops to create those opportunities. In fact, they're shooting bad shots and turning the ball over at such a high rate in those situations that they're making it easy on the other team. And this is what's most concerning to me in these fourth quarters is they're not just falling apart offensively. I don't have the numbers in front of me on the defensive rank tonight in the fourth, but all year in these situations, they've been as bad as the Knicks, the Trailblazers. Think of the worst defensive teams in the league. That's how far they fall. And you see the body language too. You see everybody's shoulders slump at once after Romeo hit that or missed that last three on the kick out there.
Mhm.
There's just constant, repeated trends. And I see people going at Ime in the comments. I'm still not there with him, but when you see this happen over and over and over and over and over and over again, that's when you start to think, like, what is Ime doing in these circumstances? That's not preventing them from not melting down here over and over again.
But part of the problem, Bobby, is that when you look at this game and you're just trying to like take the green tinted glasses off for a second and realize that they're getting a lot of open shots. They're running sets that are creating those open shots. Can't knock down 23-foot 3-point shots. That's not who his job is to put guys in position to do that.
Mm.
Tatum missed a lot of open shots. Jalen missed a lot of open shots. The turnovers that we talked about earlier, those two guys had 12 total. The entire Hawks team, they had 11. So there's so many little things that I I can't attribute Ime to being the reason
I
why this
can't
team
either.
was 500. But I will say this though. I will say this. The one thing he is not doing, the one thing, and this is unfortunately, it's been consistent. He has not figured out a way for guys to elevate their games. You don't get
Yep.
the sense that he's doing the things necessary to get these guys to play a little bit above and beyond their ability. And
And we
you don't like to do the whole comparison thing. But when you think back to Brad Stevens' first couple of teams, those guys played above their heads almost every night. That team was not very talented, but they found a way to compete night in and night out. More times than not, they didn't win, obviously, but you felt as though he was giving them a chance to be successful. And I don't know if Ime is doing enough along those lines. And part of that has to do with the fact that you've got not one, but two All Stars, and a third player in Robert Williams, who, when healthy, isn't that far off from being in that conversation among centers. So I don't know how much of that has factored into him not being able to get these guys to elevate their play. But the bottom line is this is a 500 team that has consistently been underachieving all season long. And I think that is where a lot of the frustration for fans comes from. If this was Brad Stevens' first team and they were 25 and 25, people would be calling him coach of the year because that team talent wise just wasn't there. But this team has the talent to be better than what we've seen so far.
So the thing
Celtics.
about the just to piggyback what Sherrod's saying, the thing that everyone loved about Brad Stevens was, like he said, he was able to take teams in a time within the franchise that was, a clear rebuilding effort. Brad Stevens was a floor raiser. He could take the bottom of a team and make them better. But I think I don't know if it was Brad's fault or if it was the players from last season or last couple of seasons. He didn't really seem to be a ceiling raiser. So he could take a team with low expectations and raise them to exceed those expectations and make it sort of like a competitive fun team. But when you had a team that was expected to win, it felt like they kind of were like they were at a point where they couldn't get past that ceiling. And Now with Ime, we're not seeing either right now, and that might be. I don't know if that's just growing pains or what. It's a completely different team that he's taking over than the one Brad took over, and completely different expectations, and a lot. But the difference now is the team that Brad was essentially. I'm not going to say fired because he wasn't. He was technically promoted.
Yes,
That's a story
upgraded.
for a different, a different show. But it's a similar. It's the same core, right? So how much of that is on the coach? How much of that is on the players? Because at some point, I mean, you can have a new coach every single year. If it's the same players who aren't sort of buying in, or you're not tapping into whatever it is to make them tick, then at some point you got to look at the players. That's why I'm hesitant to just go, oh, this is all Ime's fault, or oh, this is all Dennis Schroeder's fault, or like you
No,
got to
it's
go to
nobody's
the
fault.
core
And
of the
a-
team.
and we're gonna get to Smart in a minute. I feel a similar way about Smart. And obviously, we went at it over Smart in the group chat for much of this game. How I feel basically is that he's not the problem, but he's certainly
No.
not the solution in these spots either. And I do wonder how he could get propped up in these situations. Because, listen, I haven't gone all the way as some people have in saying that if you give him the ball more and you make him the proper point guard, and if you just give him the keys, he's gonna figure everything out here. But he was kind of uninvolved through that stretch. I'm gonna bring in Joe Sway here. He is also down in Atlanta.
Go Sway.
We'll put the Atlanta crew together
Can you
on
hear
the
us?
Jimmy, they didn't let me in,
southern
man.
side of the
They wouldn't let
screen.
me do a show
Dude,
from the club. They wouldn't let me do a show, man. They wouldn't let me.
Dude, I told everyone that you were going to be at Magic City for this show. There's a lot of people here tonight that are watching this show thinking that you're going to be coming from Magic City, man. And look at you.
It
You
takes
let
too long for him to
No,
get there.
no.
Not
I
that I would
know. It
know how
took
to
a
get there
while.
from here, but
Could have
but
used her.
I think it
Sherrod
takes
just
too long.
outed himself.
I think it takes too long.
Yeah, no, Gary
Sherrod,
Washington probably
Sherrod
told you how to
knows.
get there. You had no idea.
I'll never know what the lemon pepper wings taste like. I don't know.
Well, hey, man, if you end up there later, just hit us up. Maybe just like go live, Instagram live or something. Just let us know.
For the company, definitely.
Yeah, for the company on
So,
the company Instagram.
so this was the
Oh
sequence,
man.
Joe Sway. It's just mind blowing what they did here. This might have been the worst fourth quarter yet. There's been a lot of bad ones, but just the way they wasted, threw away, as John would say. Let me channel John. Uh, negligence for ball control. I don't know what his exact phrase is there, but that's how I'm going to describe it. Tatum losing the ball on the baseline with 8:30 to go. You have a Brown turnover mixed in there somewhere on the pass. You got Schroeder driving right into Capella and getting blocked. You have Rob missing an alley-oop, Brown charging, Smart charging, Brown dropping a rebound out of bounds. And that's it right there, right? That's like 4 possessions out of 5 that they turn the ball over, and then the bench rolls in. Like Sherrod just said before you got in, Joe Sway, Ime can't control any of that. There's literally nothing he can do to stop these guys from losing the ball off their legs, driving baseline, charging into guys on the dribble, and dropping rebounds, which was really rock bottom in this one.
Yeah, and Ime was asked about that after the game about playing Schroeder and Marcus Smart together, and his answer it didn't make a whole lot of sense. He talked about the Hawks are going small, where I thought that it was a bit of a mismatch in terms of the way Kevin Herter was playing. I mean, Kevin Herter, if he wasn't getting steals, he was deflecting a lot of balls out
Did
here.
that
And the
did
Hawks,
that matter? I saw people complaining about that on Twitter too. Did the lineup that was out there matter at all to the result?
No, no,
I don't think it
no.
mattered, but I was surprised that he did play both those guys. But at the same time,
I was
you
too
needed
a
some
little bit.
offensive production. You needed some sort of flow, and I think you just sort
Right.
of hit the emergency button in that sense, but not in the sense of completely changing things and going away from the game plan. So I mean, you can say that he could have did things differently. Maybe you would have saw. Maybe some people would like to see a little more Pritchard in this one because Smart and Schroeder each had 2 fouls in the first half. But I mean, does it make a difference? I don't. I'm not quite sure. If we see a different result if you were to extend the minutes to more of your bench guys.
What the hell's going on
Well,
over
well,
there?
I think Ime went into this game with a very clear approach to how he was going to play guys. Like Pritchard was not going to play. I think that was the sentiment going
Yeah.
into the game, and Schroeder was probably going to play less than normal. But it got to the point where Ime realized I got to try something. I need to lean on guys who I trust, and whether we want to acknowledge it or not, he trusts Schroeder in those type of situations a little bit more than Pritchard.
It's
Which
very
even
obvious. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
and so it shouldn't be a surprise that he went to Marcus and Schroeder there because again the way they were playing, it's not like he's looking at his hand and he's got nothing but like low, you know. It's like playing, 21 and you got like a 6 and a 4. What the hell are you gonna do with that? You're gonna play whatever the hell. You're gonna play whatever the hell is on the
Oh,
top
you're
of
gonna
the
hit,
deck.
man, obviously, but
And,
Exactly,
and
exactly.
he
You're gonna play with.
I mean, you're gonna hit
Right.
a
There's no
thousand times out of a
strategy.
thousand times, but
There's no
and,
strategy with that. You
and
just
he
play.
did
You're playing the cards you're dealt.
And he did mix and match throughout the game in successful ways. The small ball between the third and the fourth stopped that Atlanta bench run that killed the Celtics in the first half. You've had basically Langford helping this awesome defensive effort in the third quarter. And this is what kills me about this one, Jimmy. That third quarter, I don't know what adjective I used to describe it in the group chat, but it was resilient. I think that's a fair one. It's some of the most resilient play from we've seen from this team all year. They completely shut down Atlanta there, worked their way back down from 15 at halftime to within, I believe it was 3 at the turn of the third, and then just nothing from there. Not a single play in the fourth quarter to, maybe Smart answering that young floater. I thought Smart was great in this one for the third consecutive game, but he just didn't have the opportunity, and that's, I guess, where I'm going to turn this next is Smart. I thought he was just outstanding in this one. And in the fourth quarter, I hate to go in this direction, but he doesn't have the ball. I'm going to say what he said after the Chicago game. He's just standing in the corner. He's not empowered as a playmaker in that spot. And I thought in this one, could have been a solution to some of the issues that they had there in terms of playmaking in the fourth quarter.
I think sometimes people lock into the fact that Marcus is not the greatest shooter in the world, and even on nights when his shot is falling, they still fall in that lazy narrative that he's not a good shooter. There are certain nights, and we've seen this time and time again, where Marcus Smart can be one of your top two, top three shooters on the floor. I thought tonight was one of those nights. I thought
yeah,
he
there's
was
been like a
he was
handful of
recognizing
times.
mismatches and exploiting them repeatedly. And if he wasn't exploiting them for himself, he was creating opportunities for others. And guys just did not get it done. And down to four in the fourth quarter, you've got to, I think, have a bit of self reflection if you're Jason Tatum, if you're Jalen Brown. If I don't have it going, if the other Jay doesn't have it going, but someone else does, that someone else needs to be the one that we turn to. That we need to really
It's
funnel
on them,
our
right?
offense.
This
It
is
is.
another thing
You
I
know
don't
what
think
though?
people. Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
It's on them. It's also on Marcus. And it's also on Ime. Who's steering the ship down the stretch? We've gone
But,
over this 100 times. Who's steering
but
the ship?
and
Is
Jimmy, that's part
anybody,
of the
or are
problem.
they like like the Hawks score? Who's in? Like, is there any direction? Is there like if Marcus Smart wants the ball, or if he should be getting the ball, like that should be it. Like there should be some communication out there. It shouldn't be Marcus Smart standing in the corner, or it shouldn't be people screaming about why isn't Marcus Smart directing the offense right now? Like if idiots like us can see that, you can't tell me that the players can't see that or Ime can't see that. So it's like we've been saying this all year. There's no direction. There's no captain, figuratively, literally, to steer the ship into port when you need to park this thing and get the win. I don't know how many analogies I can make to make it clear that like there's just nobody or no direction. So part of that is if you want to blame Ime for anything, it's got to be that. There's got to be some sort of understanding of this is how it's going to roll here down the stretch in this situation. This is what we want to see. This is who we want running the sets. This is where we want you to be. If it's just freestyle mode, then you see what you see tonight. So,
Well,
like,
this
yeah,
is this,
metaphors, not analogies. Thank you.
this is what happens when you have leadership by committee. You have games where when you need someone to kind of step to the forefront, everyone is looking at the person to their left, the person to the right. But the problem with that is no one is stepping forward. Everyone is just looking around. No one
Yeah.
is taking the bull by the horn. And I think for Marcus Smart, I think it's a delicate situation because I think he wants to be that person, but he understands that this is still the Jays team, and the Jays sort of kind of want to be that person, but part of understanding when to lead is also understanding when you need to step back and follow the troops that have been following you. And this was a night where Jason and Jalen, I think, really should have made Marcus Smart that guy for them down the stretch because he was the only one that was showing signs of having it. They didn't have
And,
it. And it happens. It happens to all the great ones. There are nights where you just don't have that
So
juice.
is it
But you need to
stubbornness?
be. Well, I think it's part stubbornness. I think
is
it's
it their
also
view
part.
towards Smart? Do they not
That's
see
yeah,
him as a solution there?
I think that's probably part of it as well, which is too bad because I think there's a lot that they can take away from him, particularly on nights like this where they don't have it.